Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Reliving the Extreme. Nate Maxon here with you. Just wanted to give you a little update as we start the show. You may notice some audio snafus in this week's show. Every host was dealing with something this week. I myself have moved to a new house, and the new studio does not have any background things around it at all, so I sound like I'm broadcasting from the middle of an auditorium, which that will change. Chad had some internet issues, so if you notice some weird edits in the middle of the show, that's why, because we had to take out some of that. And Aaron decided to do some of the show at the end on his deck, and apparently every cricket in Ohio was in his yard. So you'll hear that in the background too. But anyway, regardless of the issues that we had to overcome this week, still a great show. Lots of fun, lots of conversation. And as a matter of fact, the audio issues and internet issues aside, I think this is one of the better editions of Reliving the Extreme. So please do join us as we are talking about the episode of ECW from March 1st, 1994. Here you go, Reliving the Extreme, episode 45. Let's do this. This week on Reliving the Extreme, we are reviewing the episode of ECW from March the 1st, 1994. Sorry I chuckled there, folks, but, well, there's not a lot of ham on this ham bone. We'll get to that later on, too. Nate Maxon here with you, along with my brother Aaron.
Hello.
And ECW's Chad Austin, of course.
Hi. I'm back.
And we're back on our normal schedule again this week now that I'm moved, and it's a good thing Chad's able to come in remotely from his Lee Marshall-style road report from the hotel.
1-800-COLLECT.
It's a little bit of weasel soup here in Baltimore.
This is incredulous. We've been here. Tuesday was 2 weeks.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to move us in until Monday. So Jess gave up. Miss Jess gave up, and she went back to the house. She's sitting on the floor. And I sent you a picture of the living room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's sitting on that beanbag with the little back support, watching Big Brother. And I just said, I can't do this. And she's like, so where are you going, back to the hotel? And I said, yeah, I can't stay here. I mean, where am I going to sit? I'm going to sit on the stove.
I was going to say, sitting Indian style doesn't work very long. Yeah.
Not for somebody with bad knees to begin with.
Well, this week on the show, like I said, we're going to review March 1st, 1994 episode of ECW. I also have some listener feedback that I'm going to share with everybody. And thank you all, as our listenership has risen. And the last I checked, I told the guys we are, out of all the myriad of probably half of them really shitty wrestling podcasts that you can download on Apple, we are 134th, which doesn't sound amazing, but it really is, because there are so many wrestling podcasts out there. So thank you all for listening to the show and helping us grow.
Wasn't it like 900 shows?
Yeah, there's something like between 900 and 1,000 wrestling podcasts.
Oh, it's even better.
Yeah, so
why don't you say 925,000?
We'll just make a number up.
Why not? We're still 134.
Thank you all again for your support. We appreciate it. And before we get to the show, Chad, I had a gentleman named Greg email me, and he had a question for you, and I don't know if you want to answer it or not, but since I got a question, I'm going to ask it. He says, this is a question for Chad Austin. Is Ian Rotten as big a piece of shit as people make him out to be?
Well, yes and no. As a friend and a person that I knew, like, coming into the business, I like Ian.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never work for him.
Okay.
That would never happen. I don't know, like, how he pays people out, but I can just tell by his houses that he would never be able to pay me, and I wouldn't want to affect my friendship with him,
right,
based upon a payoff for me going through his stupid little, I don't know, show. And then, first off, I'm not going to do any of that dumb shit. You know, knowing that I'm not going to get paid. Half the guys know they're not going to get paid. I'm sure.
Right.
What are you going to get paid? What can you get paid? And but as far as a person, I've known John for 25, almost 30 years, and except for one incident when I was breaking in, that he took liberties at me at the wrestling school, and he beat the shit out of me. And I told him I was here to learn. I wasn't here to be a punching bag.
Right.
And I just kind of like walked out of the ring being like, dude, what the hell's your deal? You know, like, what did I do? I'm here to learn how to work. I'm not here to learn how to just fucking get my ass whooped. But yeah, as a booker, I could go either way, and I could debate the good and the bad. That deathmatch stuff is not entirely my cup of tea. I don't know about you guys, but I don't mind one or two matches on a show. But every single match trying to top the other match.
Yeah, well, it is. It's just like any other formula in wrestling. When you have an entire example, you know, when you have an entire pay-per-view that's all cage matches, or you have an entire pay-per-view that like 5 out of the 6 matches are a Hell in a Cell match or something like that. You know,
women's matches.
Yeah, it loses its damn luster. End of story. You know.
Yeah, and then half the guys aren't in shape. They look terrible. You know. I mean, I'm not gonna like sit here and trumpet Jim Cornette and his sentiments, but yeah, they don't look like professional wrestlers. They're just big fat guys that will take light bulbs to the head and stuff like that. That's what it looks like to me, you know. But I have a friend that absolutely swears by it. He don't watch anything but that network, that independent wrestling network that has like the GCW and all that stuff on it. Because he gets off on watching dumb people do dumb shit to themselves. And I just like, well, that's great. Like, you know, remember the Matt Cardona, Nick Gage stuff? That was fine. Like, because that kind of like got mainstream attention. And it, you know, it wasn't that hardcore, but it was hardcore enough, you know?
Right.
That it got the whole entire angle over. But some of these guys are just brutal.
And I actually think that Matt Cardona's thing he did afterward was a cool heel move. You know, taking this, he knew the audience that hated his guts, and he knew what their reaction was going to be for him as a heel to take that belt to the Disney World or whatever. You know, I mean, I think he did a good job being a heel in that situation with that belt.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's kudos to what's his name, Lauderdale. Yeah, okay, that's great. Take the emphasis off. We're just gonna fucking kill each other, and you know, do something else to start it back over again. You know, like reinvent it. Not just like the Matt Cardona's not gonna do this shit every single show.
No.
I would think not, but you know, I don't know. I've never met him.
Well, I hope that answers the listener's question, and then I will go through here just real quick because, like I said, I was digging into the Apple stuff and noticed we had a couple of comments from listeners on there, so I wanted to put your comments out there. First of all,
these are.
Well, no, none of them. It's not like the one where the guy shit on us. This one actually, that guy Greg that went, especially went after Aaron. But anyway.
Oh, well, then go ahead, please. Begging you.
111
what
hash.
did Aaron do?
And what didn't Aaron do? Yeah, that's a shorter list. 111 #fan via Apple Podcast says, laughed through the entire episode and always learned something about ECW. Thanks, guys. And thank you for listening. And then Mom of 5, Indiana. If she's a mom of 5, I don't know how she has time to listen to this show. That's a lot of work. But she said she loves the show, highly entertaining. So thank you, those of you giving us your feedback. And please do send your feedback. Either comment on the show or you can send an email to relivingtheextreme@gmail.com. And I also see those as well.
What does Archie Mitchell say?
Archie Mitchell says this is his favorite show. This is his favorite podcast.
I think due to the California fires, I can smell the ham that he's cooking over there. I don't know if it's him baking in the sun or like it ain't the ice cream truck. It's the goddamn police sirens and fire engines. Where the hell do I live? Or where do I stay? I can't get away from this. But so, what was the negative one? Go ahead, read it, Aaron. Take it on the chin, pal.
Oh, that was a while back. I had read that on a show prior. That was months ago. I'd have to go back and find it. I'll try to find it again and refresh your memory.
So the guy resent it?
No. I was just saying that this feedback that we got today was much more positive than that douchebag, as Aaron called him so apropos.
All right. Well, ECW, March the 1st, 1994.
Yes.
Oh boy.
And we got a surprise for you coming up we wrap up. We're gonna have the Hambone Award coming up. We'll let Aaron explain that when we get to it. Here's to sum up the quality of this show, folks. One of my notes is the most interesting thing about this show is Sal Balomo's boots.
Yeah, I wrote that. What the fuck is up with Sal's boots? I don't know what those were.
Did you guys also get the beginning of last week's show at the beginning of this show when you watched it?
Yes.
Okay, because I exited like 2 times thinking that I had loaded last week's show twice. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, and I'm like, all right, I'll just fast forward and see what the fuck.
Because I understand when I started the show, it told me I was already 12 minutes in. Like I've already started watching it, and then I'm just going, wait a minute, I've already seen this, and then I just had to like keep going, because I'm going,
yeah.
All right, recap. Oh my god, recap Championship Wrestling.
When I heard Joey say Pat Tanaka against Sabu, I was like, "Fuck, we just saw this last week." Well, it turned out I don't know if that was a foobar on the original airing, or if that's just WWE Network's screw up. But either way, the first 4 to 5 minutes of the show were the beginning of last week's show. Where the current show picked up was Jason in the shower.
This was stupid.
Well, so the recap from Public Enemy in Todd's office was also a recap, right?
Yeah, that was actually from last week.
Last week. No, that was from 2 weeks ago. So. It wasn't from last week. It was from 2 weeks ago because that was a recap of the recap from the week before that.
From October. So, I don't know what you guys got, how you watched it, but did you guys get a commercial break right about then? Like in your streaming of it from the network?
No, I don't get commercials from them.
Oh, because I wrote so far, the best thing I've seen so far is Jake from State Farm. A State Farm commercial came on, and I'm just like, please, Jake.
Best gimmick on the show.
Yeah, whack somebody with a premium. Do something to save this show. But Jason in the shower, I literally just said it was awful. I don't know what it is about Jason. It's not even like go away heat. It's just I don't give a shit heat.
Mm-hmm.
I could care less heat.
His hair wasn't even wet. Like his hair was still poofy and everything. He was making it like he was coming out of the shower, but his hair was still all poofy and.
Well, you can't get implants wet. you gotta go into the club for men and get that taken care of with dry shampoo. I think. I don't know.
He's like, Jason was only washing his balls. He'll come back later.
How do you like my balls?
And we will get into his crappy promo later on.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Definitely. Then we go to Todd Gordon in his office. He's talking about the show coming up in 4 days on March the 5th, and then the TV taping on March the 6th. Just running down the card.
He shouldn't hype anything. Todd Gordon shouldn't hype anything. He's terrible at it.
Isn't this where he was kind of like sounding like he was going nuts, where he had the high pitched voice and shit?
Yeah.
Like he started out like being the commissioner of ECW, and he's like, "Let me tell you something." And I was just like, "Oh boy, this is the Todd Gordon character."
Yeah, let Joey do what you pay him to do, and Todd just needs to not do this.
Yeah, he goes. People are asking me why don't I stop this? I'm not going to stop this. I'm going to top this.
Well, that's a good line.
That should have been Joey saying it, though. Aaron's right. It shouldn't have been Todd Gordon.
Yeah, but that still is a good line.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. It shouldn't have been. It should have been after Todd threw a fit. They pitched back to Joey, and Joey says, I don't think Todd's going to try to stop this. I think he's going to top this.
Mm-hmm.
That would have had a lot more like ass behind it than Todd just going, I'm going to fucking top this. And just going all bananas, and the pins are popping out of his Rocky Dennis mat for where he's cutting baseball cards at from the movie Mask from the LA Dodgers in '69. Yeah, Todd is just he was completely nuts and over the top, and I could have done without it. But as soon as this was over, and I swear to God, I haven't watched the show since it originally aired. I literally wrote down, I smell a video coming. Like, perfect time. You just spent, what did you say, 9 minutes?
Yeah.
10 minutes on, like, recapping shit? And I'm like, oh, it's about time for a video. And what do we get?
We got a video.
We also learned that it was $10 to get in the ECW arena in 1994.
Well, do the math on that.
For an ECW taping, it was $10. Because he said if you go to the March 5th show and bring your ticket stub to the ECW TV taping, you get in for $5.
He should have did a deal where if you were vaccinated, like from anything.
If you've had the polio vaccine,
yes.
you get in half off
for $5.
If you
bring 5 canned goods.
If you can point to Newark, New Jersey, on my map behind me, you get in for $5.
Yeah, I agree. It was over the top and blah, blah, blah. And I actually misspelled good Lord. I wrote good long.
It was too...
I guess I was just saving ink in my pen by saying, good Lord, it's too long. So I just wrote it. But then, oh boy, what a doozy we got.
Speaking of good Lord, it's too long. Up next, Tommy Dreamer, Sal Balomo, and Tommy Cairo in a 6-man tag match against Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the Rockin' Rebel, and the Pitbull. This match just kept going and going and going. Anybody else feel that way?
I couldn't take my eyes off of Sal's boots. Like, I was trying to figure them out. I'd say I don't know what those were. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It looked like
I just had
rubber
no
clogs.
idea why this was happening. Like, what was the purpose? Was it just to get them guys out there, just to fill TV? Because what was the purpose? It didn't serve any. It didn't further any storyline. It didn't advance anybody, in their push or anything. And the only thing I got out of it was I'm just glad there was a Mongolian Mauler reference.
I noticed that too.
I have no idea why there's a Mongolian Mauler reference.
The main thing about this match, one of the other, I have a couple of notes, but like you said, the body of the match, there was no point to it. And as many times as in the ECW shows, you see a clip of something, or you see them come into the last 2.5 minutes of a match so they can show the angle at the end. I don't know why they didn't choose to do that here. Because the only thing of substance that came out of this match was at the end with Tommy Dreamer and Jimmy Snuka.
And Snuka.
And Snuka playing kind of, chicken shit, pretending that his buddies were holding him back from Tommy Dreamer. But
that was the way to go. Because that's about my takeaway from it was that if you're going to do anything out of this, you kind of just tease Snuka and Dreamer. And you kind of let it play out. That Snuka's just not afraid, but he's not going to get in the ring when he's ready. Until he's ready. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not ready yet. So Dreamer's getting in there and he's, doing his hands and I'm ready for this. And Snuka was like, nah, brother, no TCB now. I'll tag one of the fucking pips. And I'm just going to stand here. But see, Snuka didn't have. At that time, Snuka didn't have the passion,
Yeah.
For the angle. The angle was already shot where Dreamer kicked out of the splash, right? That was already shot. So that was the angle, and then Snuka just didn't care. It was just I don't, whatever. He kicked out of the Superfly splash.
And I guess in this context, that means we get whatever Snuka we get that night, because if you remember when they shot the angle, he actually did seem into it and he sold it well and he did a good job with it. But then he comes to this show or this TV taping or whatever, and like you said, he was just acting like he just didn't even give a fuck.
No, he kept pulling up his knee pads that weren't even falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kept going to the corner or whatever, and then he would lick his fingers and then pull up his knee pad. And like, well, come on, like it's a hot angle. I mean, maybe maybe Snuka looked at it in a different way than we did. Maybe he thought the slow burn was better than the tease, like what, tagging Dreamer in and having Snuka do the deal where he like backpedals and falls on his butt in the corner kind of thing. Like, I'm not, I don't want this.
Right.
He didn't seem like he gave a shit, about Dreamer.
No.
He was just like, okay.
He's just
dude kicked out of your finish.
He's just getting paid for doing as little work as possible. Aaron, your thoughts? I do want to discuss the pin.
He did, like you guys said, Snuka didn't do anything for Dreamer in this match. He didn't back down from him. He didn't really do anything. Like I said, Sal's boots were ridiculous. It was funny when Sal slammed him. It just fell backwards. Like he just fell backwards and put his hand up for the tag. That was kind of a goofy little bump. But the bigger story, and nobody talks about it, is the big manager union of this match. It brought together.
I still thought it was Sal Boots.
It brought together the managerial talents and masterminds of Hunter Q and Jason.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You were breaking up. Bye-bye. All right.
So this match brought together the managerial minds of Hunter Q and Jason ringside together.
Oh boy, that's Bobby Heenan, and Jimmy Hart in the same place at the same time. I'm sure.
It's like one of these guys will roofie and rape you, the other one will watch. Which one's which? We don't know.
I think they're both debating on who has a better value menu, McDonald's or Wendy's. Because you know what they're getting paid. So I mean, Jason could probably go to Burger King, and Hunter's probably going to McDonald's. A McDouble with extra pickles.
How do you like my McDouble?
Yes, because my breath is so fresh, dude. I wrote down that Sal. When Joey mentioned Sal's boots, that I just was like, oh, I didn't catch him at first, right? I didn't catch him. I was just, I'm watching Sal, and I wrote he's wearing berserker boots.
Berserker,
like not even like the berserker like Brody boots. He's wearing like these are terrible. These are almost like fake Uggs.
They look like big rubber big rubber clogging shoes. I don't.
Yeah, they were like rain shoes that had like wool on the inside of them. Like that defeats the whole purpose of having like the rainboat, the raincoat material on the boots, but you have fur on the outside of them. I think he wore his house slippers. I think he forgot his boot. I'm sticking with that. But this was becoming a mess. This was becoming a mess really fast.
Bellomo's pin on Rockin' Rebel.
Well, I mean, my takeaway from this was I was just wondering. I'll ask you guys this because you guys probably know a little bit more than me as far as history. Did Sal and Snuka ever work together in the WWE? Like, in Snuka's first run? When he brought in Sal, Snuka's probably second run.
I'm not going to say no.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no just because I don't know. I've never seen Sal versus Snuka from that time period, but Sal was there. But yeah, Sal's pin on Rockin' Rebel was awkward. Like, how long did he have? How long was it? Well, I mean, how long was he on top of the dude? Like, it was like a 74 count.
Dude, yeah. When Joey Styles yells out in his Joey Styles voice, "The big pizza splash!" I just kind of was like, "Oh Lord." We get an NWO style beatdown of Sal Bellomo from the heels at the end of this deal, and then Tommy Dreamer makes the save, runs the heels off with the bell, and that puts a ribbon on this segment, this very, very long segment
on this show of ECW. The match,
so that big pizza splash didn't quite do the job.
Just didn't do the job. It didn't. It surprisingly, as long as he was on top of Rebel, it just didn't do the job. But man, this match was so long and didn't need to be. The match in the arena probably could have been that long, whatever. But we didn't need to see that much of this match on TV.
No, I totally agree. That match would have been fine as an arena match while they were setting up something next. Mm-hmm. Because weren't we promised Mike Awesome?
Well, they keep saying his name.
I don't see Mike Awesome's name on my notes at all.
Mm-mm. Unless that was another thing.
No, we were promised Mike Awesome because that was part of the intro they played from last week, this week. At the beginning of the show, it was the opening segment from last week's show.
That should be the name of the show. Welcome to ECW Last Week This Week. Speaking of this week.
The week that was. Again.
Speaking of this week, how about Maddie in the house and Jason?
He's still in the house.
He is, and Jason is cutting a promo that is all over the place here. Aaron, you're shaking your head. Go ahead.
It takes forever and goes nowhere. Like, he's stumbling over his words. He's supposed to be talking about Mr. Hughes versus Hawk, but he's talking about some match he had with Hawk in like 1992 in WCW or some shit. It's like, what the fuck? It's terrible. He can't even. He tries to say decapitated, like he stumbles over decapitated. When Maddie, that's one of the best things about the WWE Network on Peacock, because it automatically doesn't let you turn off the closed captioning. And I go, what did he say? I think he said it was detachable. And I'm going, why is he saying his head is detachable? and I'm just I'm looking at it literally, dude. Jason is almost becoming unwatchable, and I guess because Paul needed time for the show, because you can tell that was something that was taped afterwards, post-production, at the studio, that it's becoming unwatchable, and it was just way too long. Because I would love to see what Paul would have liked to use, if not have Jason cut that fucking 5-minute promo. Mm-hmm. I would love to see what hit the editing room floor at that point.
Yeah, okay, first of all, he's like Aaron said, it's all over the place. He's bringing up something from WCW, from Hawk clotheslining him or whatever. And then the promo becomes less about the match between Hawk and Mr. Hughes and more about Jason and Hawk. Yeah, I was just saying, anything else on this Jason debacle before we move on to the next debacle?
No.
Well, I can't wait till we start talking about the ham bones. I think I might have a front runner. Well, good thing I wasn't on the show.
Well, now we get a recap video of, at some point, Bad Breed attacking Sabu, which leads to, talk about a debacle, Sabu and 911 against the Bad Breed.
That's
Ian
two other
and
guys.
Axel Rotten.
We can't do two ham bones? Is a tag team worthy of being a ham bone?
It's just a really big ham bone. It's one big fat ham bone. This match is, the only good thing about this match, to be honest, is Sabu. There is a cool moonsault to the outside. Yeah, well, that too. But there is a cool moonsault to the outside onto, I think it's Ian. And then 911 literally just...
Bear hug Axel the entire time.
Yeah, it's just literally just a bear hug on Axel the entire time.
100% that was Axel. Because Ian didn't give a shit about taking the bumps and taking the beatings. Mm-hmm. He didn't give a shit about that. Axel knew his job. Axel was the backbone of that team. He was 100% the smarter guy of that duo, and he decided, hey, look, I'll work with fucking Al, and then you take all that shit from Boo,
Right.
And yeah, it was. I mean, it was what it was. It was kind of sloppy, but yeah, you got to see the what was it for the first time that acai thing or.
That's the first time he hit it on somebody. We did see it last week, but he went through the table when Pat Tanaka moved. But this is the first time we've actually seen him connect with somebody on it.
All right, and then of course I believe it was I think it was Axel at some point. Like something kills me, and it happened to Samoa Joe on NXT the other day. Karrion Kross had him in that crossface gimmick, the sleeper hold.
Mm-hmm.
And all he was caring about was pulling his trunks up.
Yeah.
Like, because his trunks was falling down. And then at one point, I think you see Axel or Ian pull his shirt down. Like, it's covered, my belly's exposed. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? You just got, like, landed on by a 230-pound guy who just propelled himself.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a fucking fight.
Yeah, who gives a shit if your big belly's hanging out? It was amazing because I like Axel. I like Axel a lot. I loved Axel, and Ian was okay for his role, but I'm not quite sure that Ian kind of knew his role. Like he wasn't smart enough to deal with Paul's I guess politics or how he booked things. Axel was like he saw through it. That's why he's like, I ain't doing that. I'll stay in the corner with 911, and you can bear hug the shit out of me. And it goes back to it goes back to when we get later on that when we get further in the show that you'll see how the reason why Paul Lee kept 911 to a limited capacity because he couldn't do anything.
No, well, and also that's all he did for 4.5 minutes. Ian also did a terrible plancha. I think it was a plancha or whatever you want to call it on off of a ring apron during this match too.
Who 911 did?
No, Ian did.
Oh, okay.
Ian did. He just kind of 911 thinks plancha is a Mexican dish. He doesn't have any fucking idea what that is.
I totally agree with that one.
911 gets a double choke. He double chokes the Bad Breed, gets a disqualification on this. And the whole match, the whole purpose of the match is to get the replay of the moonsault, obviously, because that's what they show about 2 or 3 times after the match. It's a showcase for Sabu.
What else were they going to do? Are we going to replay the bear hug?
Well, don't worry. We're going to see it for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be like everywhere. And Joey Styles yelling, he barely missed the guardrail.
This week, last week.
Which he literally did. He almost hit that guardrail.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sabu, as much as I like him, man, he is so, I don't want to say the word careless or reckless. I'm not sure he understands like what he's like capable of doing. I probably mentioned on the show before that, he doesn't understand that he's not Rey Mysterio.
Is it fair to say the gist of it is Sabu is all about Sabu? Like he's just, you know what I mean? Like he's just all about getting his shit over and not really worried about anybody else's shit? I mean, at this point.
Yeah, I would say so because that was him. I would say that was him kind of making his mark in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because, he's been fresh in the United States. Nobody's really seen him except for a few indie shows. But now that he's on a bigger platform and a savvy fan base that's rabid, that, he's going to get his shit in and he wants to highlight.
Right.
And he hit all his moves and God damn it. Who did he kill with the Arabian leg press gimmick for the finish? Didn't he win with the Arabian leg press?
No. Well, no, I don't think this match, because this match ended by disqualification because 911 was choking the Bad Breed both at the same time and wouldn't let the choke go.
So he wouldn't release the chokehold at the 10 count or 5 count or whatever.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, yeah. We have
easy booking.
We have rules when it's convenient, right?
I mean, it's so easy in ECW to have any match that has a non-finish. You don't even have to say it's a DQ or anything like that. It's just that it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
Just say that. And end of that, don't say, oh, it was a double count out. Come on. There's guys that are still brawling outside. The Taz is still brawling outside. And Kevin Sullivan are still fighting with Public Enemy and Pat Tanaka at the ECW ring.
Yeah, the match never fucking ended to begin with. It's still legally going on right now.
So, yeah, I mean, just to even say that it was a disqualification is lazy booking because I guess they didn't want to put any heat on anybody doing the job. So
any idea why they slapped a mask on the second handler?
On the second who?
The Sabu's second handler, the other guy that's with 911, this week he had a black mask on. Any idea why they did that? He didn't last week.
I don't even know who that guy was. I never saw him in the locker room. I never did. I've never met him. I don't know who he was. Remember when they brought me out on the gurney?
Yeah.
Like, he was one of the guys that brought me out, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the big jacked up muscle guys?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was just something to add to the mystique. Like, I'm assuming because the guy didn't stick around long. And I don't even know if he was a worker.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that and I wondered, I was like, is there a reason for this? But maybe it's somebody that the audience would have recognized otherwise. I don't know. But anyway, they run down the card for March 5th, the Revenge of Funk, with Terry Funk and Shane Douglas in the main event for the ECW title. And then we get a Shane Douglas and Sherry promo followed by a video recapping the rivalry between Terry Funk and Shane Douglas. Anything on this? I mean, it's a recap of a recap. We know.
Well, I mean, I bet you Aaron felt the same way as I did, is that it's a typical Shane promo, and then you just knew as well as anybody did that there was a video to follow. Wasn't there? I mean,
yeah.
That's what I wrote down. It was way before they even showed the video. I just knew they were going to show a video. And Sherry was brilliant, as always. She's always,
Mm-hmm.
And Shane kind of gets on my nerves. Like, he doesn't leave well enough alone when it comes to being like the pompous kind of guy. He just kind of like just keeps going. And they're like, all right, Shane. You're awesome.
We get it.
Yeah, you're right.
Nice windbreaker.
Yeah, we get it.
Aaron, anything on this before we roll on?
It was what it was. I mean, it got Shane on the show, and it showed what was going into Funk's revenge. For the love of God, I wish Shane Douglas would, like, bend his hat. Like, every time he wears a hat, like, the bill is just straight. And it's like...
somebody just gave it to him.
And
he never had a chance to bring it in.
He's supposed to be this, like, badass guy that's talking all this shit about how great he is, and he looks like a fucking moron with his hat straight. Like, what the hell, man?
He looks like he should be on BET because he still has the label on it. Boo. That's what I say. Boo.
I wrote down here that the next match, our quote-unquote, I guess, main event for the show, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a good brawl. It's Kevin Sullivan and Taz against the Bruise Brothers.
The Blue Denim Bruise Brothers.
The Bruise Brothers.
It was crazy. Woman looked really good, I think.
As always.
Yes.
Woman?
Yeah, she looked
really
good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was one of the first things that I wrote about the show to begin with. It was just like, how about woman?
Yeah.
Like, after the open, man, she's looking better than ever. Yeah, but, that brawl, that was probably the best thing on the show was the brawl. Because they did, and they also got a chance to, to promo them, the ECW Arena show. Because that was also a non-finish, right?
Yeah.
So it was a non-finish. It wasn't a double count out. It wasn't a double disqualification.
Right? As I was watching the match, I found myself agreeing with a statement that you've made the past few weeks, Chad, is, man, why did those guys, the Bruise Brothers, not last in ECW? Because they were made to be in ECW. Just made to be
totally.
in ECW. Yeah.
I mean, they could have been, like uber over had they stuck around past this bad era.
Yeah, I mean, imagine them in the mix with the Gangsters and the Eliminators and the Pit Bulls, and I mean, that could have been some badass stuff.
Yeah, the Pit Bulls would have been, in my opinion, would have been their gateway.
Mm-hmm.
You do the Pit Bulls, and then you beat Anthony. Number 2, you beat Anthony, and then everybody would be in shock. Oh my God! You put Anthony down, you know. And then I would move on to who else did you say there was? Public Enemy and who else?
The Eliminators. Yeah.
Well, the Eliminators came much later, so you could have drug out the Bruise Brothers and Public Enemy for a couple of months, and I mean that would have took us into '95, but we're still in early '94.
Yeah.
So they could have drugged that out until whatever, but you could also thrown Bad Breed in there, just like just to kill time,
Well, imagine the Bruise Brothers versus the Gangsters.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That would have been their crowning jewel after they got established by beating other established teams. Then people would have taken them credible. But my guess is as good as yours as to why it did. Well, our guesses are all the same as to why it didn't last.
Paul didn't want Nazis on his show.
Yeah, you noticed they didn't have the tape on their arms yet.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, wow, Paul didn't make them put the tape on their arms yet, so maybe he didn't notice the tattoos. But it's coming because I was there and I remember him saying that. That was probably the best. That was probably the best match, except for it was another one of them. I mean, lazy booking finishes.
Yeah, you got a double pin.
One side from each team.
Yeah, a double pin. They if you could hear in the background the ring announcer announcing the Bruise Brothers as the new tag champs, but I don't think the title change is ever actually acknowledged. And then Public Enemy comes out and steals the tag titles while the Bruise Brothers and Sullivan and Taz are brawling. And then Jay Sully's in the back with Public Enemy looking like he's in a hostage video. They do a Public Enemy promo. Aaron?
It was this whole thing is just kind of it was like, man, these 3 teams, I was kind of enjoying it, but this was kind of a clusterfuck in my opinion, and didn't really do much for me.
Well, I mean, my whole thing was, why was it Jim Molyneux or John Finnegan that counted the 3 count?
Molyneux.
But why did he count the double 3 count on both counts? Like, you should have been like, well, maybe I'm confused on who the legal man is. But, why am I going to count like 1, 2, 3 on both pins? But then I'm just going to flip a coin and pick whoever I thought.
Yes, exactly. In that situation, you would want Molyneux to be on one side of 2 guys, and then Finnegan to be on the other side of 2 guys, and both referees doing a 3 count. If that's the finish you want to do, it would make more sense for 2 referees to count 2 counts than 1 referee to be in the middle of 2 counts going, okay, either way.
Well, you know what? You could have even done it this way. You could have even had both guys pinning the other guy, and you could have had the referee count the 3 count, but have another referee come out and say, hey, you missed it.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy had him pinned for the exact same time that he had him pinned, and Molyneux could be like, what? And he's like, yeah, and then like show it to him, like show the replay, take him back to a bullshit monitor.
Right.
You're like, see, look, and he's like, oh my God, I missed that.
Yeah, take them back to a bullshit monitor in front of that bullshit dressing room, right? And just make it happen.
Oh, we haven't had that Hawaiian theme yet. That with the palm trees and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the worst. I know exactly when that era started because it was something that was just sitting in the locker room back in the day. And you know what I'm saying? They could have done it 2 or 3 different ways.
Well, overall, guys, I graded this show a dud. Probably the only thing I really liked on it again was the Sullivan and Bruise Brothers match. So I don't have a lot on a grade on it because I graded it a dud. DUD is what I wrote. Aaron?
I didn't even give it that. I just didn't even write a rating down. I was just like, this thing ended with three teams yelling at each other in a locker room. Why not end with the brawl? At least that was somewhat exciting. But no, you're just gonna argue. You're gonna these three teams converge, and they don't even fight. They don't keep fighting. They just had this big fucking brawl, and now they're just gonna keep talk. They're just gonna talk to each other.
Yeah, and Public Enemy stealing the belts like they did. It was so chicken shit. But at the same time, I was kind of like, all right, that's kind of cool. But
yeah, and stealing the belts was cool. But it's like, okay, now we stole these belts. But once we get to the locker room, we'll walk 5 feet and let's stop and talk to Jay Sully. Why wouldn't they just bolt? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We just we just committed grand larceny, but we'll just go ahead and stop and talk to Sully real quick. And
these guys need to dial up the Repo Man and figure out. Ask him for some pointers.
Worst criminals ever, the Public Enemy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why when they stole the belts, Johnny didn't take them home and put his belt on the mantle on top of the big screen TV that he stole. that Ted Petty seems to be alluding a lot.
Every time these guys break, every time they break in somewhere, they one bring a camera with them, and then two stand around and talk for 5 minutes about what they're going to steal.
Yeah, could you imagine if they were thieves nowadays, where there's cameras everywhere?
They're like a James Bond villain. They tell you their whole plan, and then that way you can foil it.
Yeah, it's bad enough that they're working for a semi-national promotion with cable viewing that has cameras following them, and they're in Todd Gordon's office and they're stealing contracts and they're stealing belts where the cameras are on them. Just imagine a modern day version where if they stole candy from a rural farms, there's cameras everywhere. Oh, Rocco, you stole that candy necklace. You're going to get us in trouble again,
Johnny. Well, folks,
they're the worst thieves. At least Repo Man wore a mask.
Nobody will know.
Gage didn't do.
Nobody will know I'm Demolition Smash. All right, to end the show this week, everybody, Aaron and Chad, the real geniuses of this show, came up with an idea. Every single week, we're going to... Go ahead, Aaron. You explain it to the listeners.
Well, every single week, one of us will select the ham bone of the show, and they will get the ham bone award. And we'll just alternate it each week. So this week, I'm picking. Next week, Chad will pick. Then Nate will pick. And then we'll just keep going that way. And I'll write them all down. And then about every 6 months, we'll have the Hambone Hall of Fame, and I'll pick 4 people from the list, and we'll put them in the Hall of Fame.
And somebody can get the Hambone 2-3 weeks in a row, right?
Yeah. That would be one of the criteria for entrance into the Hall of Fame. It's this.
Yeah, that would be a first ballot Hamboner.
This Hamboner's been in he's got 15 awards under his belt. He's got to go in.
I'm just glad that you didn't choose me to pick the ham bone of the week, because there wasn't a whole. I mean, what was I going to pick? Something that they recapped. There wasn't who am I going to pick? The Bruce Brothers, Taz and Sullivan, or anybody in that 6-man will probably suffice. But it wasn't like there was a whole bunch of new matches or new talent for anybody to really see to pick a ham bone from. So. This is you, Aaron. You're picking the ham bone?
Yep.
And then you said we're going to create a ham bone Hall of Fame? And
yes.
Good Lord. Do we have a state yet? Do we have we broke ground on this site?
It's waterlogged Iowa.
That none of us are going to go to. It's an old McDonald's that closed up. We're just going to go in there and put pictures up of Sal Balomo.
If we need to expand, there's an old Hills department store next door that used to be open. We can go in there.
Oh,
Aaron,
I'm very curious as to see like how this ham bone of the week goes.
Eventually, if we get like the Ham Bone Hall of Fame going, we can start pay like 2 guys to drive around and try to find relics of these ham bones. And
like the ham bone, like the WWE treasure show?
Yeah. Ham bone treasures.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's ham bone hunters.
I'm going to drive to Sal's house and find the boots.
Yeah. See how much you can get them for.
Oh, please. I probably could always find them at a Goodwill. Worst boots I've ever seen.
This week we're on the road with Jason Knight. Yes. looking for his jacket.
Which is great because guess who the ham bone of the week is?
How do
Jason
you like
Knight.
my ham bone?
Jason Knight is the first inaugural ham bone of the week.
No, he's the second.
Oh, I'm
Jason
sorry.
Knight was the inaugural.
Yeah, we didn't discuss that during the actual show yet, though.
Oh, well, I made that decision.
Jay Sully was automatically in the ham
Jay
bone.
Sully automatically in. He's the Grand Puma of ham bones, so he goes in, and he's in the Hall of Fame. He's the only person in there right now, but the first official broadcast ham bone award winner is Jason.
Is that because he takes a shower with a cameraman watching him? Does that have anything to do with it? Or he just talks too much?
Like, when you're the worst thing of this show, you deserve the award more than anybody else. And that's what Jason gets.
It's a good thing that I wasn't on this show. Because I was completely eliminated, and it's a good thing Pat Tanaka wasn't on the show. But wasn't Rebel on it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's a competitor. There's some competition for a ham bone.
Nipping at the heels.
Yeah, he's right there. He's instantly the ham bone of the week. Because don't get me wrong, he will eventually be inducted into the Ham Bone Hall of Fame. So we're going with Jason?
Yes.
Well, Jason Knight, my friend, we all know what happened to you in the WWE. Like he explained in his, 27-minute long monologue about how he was treated in the WWE.
I know the 6-man tag was longer than the promo, but the promo felt longer than the 6-man tag.
Dude, it was excruciating. Like I literally went to the house because I had to go to the house to watch the guy do the work that he was doing because he fucked everything all up. And I put it on. I'm watching it, going, when is this dude going to shut the fuck up? You know, he's just talking. And I know. I mean, we all three know the reason why he was talking, because Paul had that much time to fill.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't find anything else to do with that time other than Jason just putting himself. But Jason seemed like, in my opinion, he started to kind of more or less find himself as a character, because he really started to show a little bit more emotion and like conviction in his character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he kind of like he defined it a whole lot more, because he was literally talking about, I don't care if you don't like my suit, I don't care if you don't like my hair or all that nonsense. But then he goes like, you're gonna like my roughneck. Like you got a rough neck. You need to find a better razor. How about the Dollar Shave Club, pal?
They got cream for that, yeah. All right, gents, anything before we sign off here? Anything else? We got Jay Sully and Jason in the ham bone there. Well, Jason gets ham bone of the week. Jay Sully's automatically in the Hall of Fame, as Aaron said. Any parting words for the listeners, guys?
Well, I think Aaron pretty much summed it up by saying you gave it a what?
A nothing.
A nothing. All right, because that's probably better than I would have given it. And I was just like, well, if Aaron gave it a nothing, and Nate, you're not even going to respond to it?
Yeah, I gave it a dud.
A dud. Okay, you gave it a dud. Yeah, so basically you know, if I haven't given a show but one show a rating at all, it's definitely not going to be this show. You know?
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for Jason being the ham bone of the week, it would have been Ian Rotten for pulling his shirt down after he just got like moonsaulted on. He was more concerned about his belly showing on TV than selling the thing. But parting words, Yeah, it was not a good show. And remember a couple weeks ago, Nate, when we were talking about how we thought they were taking a step in the right direction?
Yes.
Well, they fucking stopped.
They just keep doing this. They keep do you feel that? I feel that on this show. Like I'll feel like, okay, 2 weeks we got this good shit, and then we fall. It's like they get to the end of what they have recorded from the taping, and it's just the stuff that should just be left on the cutting room floor winds up on the show.
Well, I think based upon Todd's promo about the March 5th, whatever was it, March 5th and March 6th, the taping?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That I think a lot of shit happens on that show.
Well, he did mention, and I think you've made mention of it. You've mentioned a TV taping in Valley Forge before, right?
Yes.
Well, he did mention that March 6th taping is in Valley Forge.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, I remember it, but I'm not exactly 100% sure that I even have that. But I remember it because that was the only time that Paul ever had a buck, like, for the talent. Because, you know, that was a long drive from the arena to Valley Forge, you know. That was probably another hour and a half, 2 hour drive from South Philly. So he rented a bus and everything. And then we had a show on that Sunday, too, in Delaware. Because I believe that's when I worked with Road Warrior Hawk.
Okay.
But, yeah, the Valley Forge thing, that was a whole entire disaster. So if they start showing some of that stuff, then I can't wait to tell you some of the backstory on this fucking disaster.
I can't wait to hear it.
It wasn't that place was not built for a wrestling event. I can tell you that right now. It was like the Grand Ole Opry. You know, there was like a stage like in the middle. It was in the middle of the place, and there was a ring, and everybody was out there like in the amphitheater. So it was just like if you're gonna play to the crowd, you gotta play to one side, basically, because it wasn't a 4-sided crowd,
right?
And I could almost be willing to bet that Paul got a great deal, like on that venue, because that wasn't going to be a cheap venue, right?
Right.
Now, I mean, because Tanya Tucker played there, George Jones played there in the 60s, you know. That's a big game venue.
Premium real estate.
Yeah, and then have I can't wait to get into this, but yeah, this show was not a great indication of the direction that ECW was kind of headed. I just don't think so. I think it was just kind of like, we need to put a show out there, much like this show.
Yeah, we got to get something done.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I'm a stickler for sticking to, like, we got to get a show out every single week. And I don't give a shit if I got to do it while I'm driving. We're going to do a show every week, and we can't let our listener down.
Yes, we can't let our listener down.
I mean,
yeah,
what's Archie going to do?
Wait for Greg.
I mean, Archie's going to be going crazy if you don't hear a new show from us.
Yeah, our listeners are Greg, Mama 5, and Archie Mitchell. We appreciate all three of you.
I'm appreciative to anybody that listens to this. I've told everybody that likes ECW to spread the word, check it out. And I don't know if it's reflected on anything or not, but people have told me that, yeah, they've listened, they've checked it out. But I swear I think that they're waiting for mid-95, you know, going into 96. I think they're waiting for that, like, before they really, you know. I would say probably once the Eliminators probably come in, or the Gangsters, whoever came first.
If you're waiting for that time frame in ECW to listen to the show, don't do that. Go back and listen to the earlier episodes. Listen to the whole thing, because as shitty as the product is that we're watching, our show's really funny. So there you go. That's
suffer
what you should.
With us.
So yeah, suffer with us. Let's all suffer together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I got to do it.
And it's free. We do it for free for you, the listeners.
Yeah, I feel like Aaron should have nominated me for being the ham boner of the week for having to watch this nonsense.
That being said, I want to thank my co-host for joining me once again this week on Reliving the Extreme. And we will see you next week, everybody. Have a great week.
Tally-o.